Food is an enjoyable, cultural and vital part of our daily lives. Globally, long-term food security is fast becoming a major concern, and the Pacific is no exception. Rapid urban population growth, increasing dependency on cheap imported foods, land degradation, declining land productivity, erosion of crop genetic diversity are threatening food security in the Pacific. Another factor which is challenging food production is climate change and climate variability. The western region of Viti Levu serves as Fiji's tourism and agricultural hub. In recent years, it has endured intense cyclones, longer dry spells, and severe flooding along the heavily populated coastal areas. But the damage can also be quite evident further inland as well. It's within these Sabeto highlands that the Secretariat of the Pacific Community, SPC, in partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture, has begun work on a timely project funded by the United States Agency for International Development. The project aims to enhance the climate change resilience of land-based food production systems in Pacific Island communities.
This project is focused on food security and climate change. It's being implemented in 6 Pacific Island countries, and that's Fiji, Kiribati, Samoa, Solomons, Tonga, and Vanuatu. So basically from the beginning, the communities have been involved throughout the whole process and are also involved in the implementation of the project itself.
For climate change in Fiji, the climate change unit within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is responsible for coordinating all climate change activities. One thing that really is important to note in terms of the SPC projects is what the elements of the project that they are implementing in Sabeto. Whether it's talking about the trialing of the crops, whether it's talking about the disaster risks reduction, talking about the pests and diseases control, the management of the different communal work that are in terms of conservation and trying to really build a resilient community, climate resilient communities within the different communities. I think it is really important in as far as the community is concerned.
In the Sabeto catchment, 16% of their land area is farming. Out of that 16%, 14% was sugarcane farms and only 2% is subsistence farming, to feed the families. So those were the interesting data. Why out of 16% you are planting, we noticed that only 2% is used for food. Why is that? Some of them say, how do we plant? How can we plant sustainably on steep slopes? So we will be assisting communities in developing cropping plans. For example, a lot of the adaptation interventions that has been identified, building nurseries, establishing demonstration farms, livestock interventions, because we noticed that most of them, they buy food from supermarkets and not really planting to feed the children.
The USAID funding has permitted high-resolution satellite imaging of the whole of Fiji for the first time. These images, along with land use data and results from the vulnerability assessments, inform community-based adaptation actions by highlighting food-insecure hotspots. Some adaptation measures currently being implemented in Sabeto include diversifying food production through the establishment of community nurseries which house climate-ready crops, assorted vegetables and fruit seedlings. Increasing community awareness on the impacts of climate change on food production through training on sustainable farming techniques, management of climate-ready crops and plant nurseries.
By having a consistent vegetation or land cover maps, we could then predict what desired conditions for the future. And also we have a standard baseline of data, and we can then see the effects of climate change on vegetation or land cover, which we can then inform the project of ways they can improve their farming methods by generating those vegetation and land cover maps.
One of the main activities that we identify is to promote the practice of agroforestry. That is integrating the planting of trees with crops. And on planting of these trees, we try to promote the use of local tree species.
SPC's Center for Pacific Crops and Trees, CPAC, has also been integral to the success of the project, providing crop plant varieties that have been demonstrated to be more climate resilient to the nurseries and demonstration farms. CPAC is the region's only internationally recognized gene bank, preserving many of the important staple crops in the Pacific.
It's brought in sweet potatoes, and they are called the climate-ready sweet potatoes. This to transfer these plants into pots and nursery for hardening before they're transferred into the field. Some of them are drought tolerant and flooding. They're able to adapt in this flooding, salt intrusions. What we are trying to do is to analyze and check if these crops of these sweet potato varieties are able to adapt to the climate change that we are having in the areas.
Most of the water source that is supplied to the town and cities of, to the town and urban areas of Nandi is sourced from this area. So we want to minimize the use of agrochemicals and pesticides in this area. Therefore, we are promoting the use of good agriculture practice, GAP.
Batinguai, kwa mix batachiko batkin sona vatu ni kavaya ne mai daki na mbudini betana kana ro nimbola bakina niti.
The younger generation play an important part in building and sustaining that knowledge. A first for the project, Nangando Village's nursery has been set up within its school compound, giving children the opportunity to sow into the project and reap its benefits.
All the children will be preaching it in the Vanua Vaturu, no pesticide. All the crops that is coming from Vaturu, Tikina Vaturu, to market, down to the market in Nandi or whatever market it will go to, people who will buy will know. It's coming from Vaturu, that's no pesticide. Only natural pesticide, which is the drabusa, what we have been learning, even garlic or so, all coming from there. So it's the most healthiest and safest for our family, especially for the education of our children.
Climate change adaptation essentially looks at addressing communities' vulnerabilities by improving people's ability to adapt, prepare, respond, and recover from climate change or disaster-related impacts.
It's going towards that side.
As an adaptation strategy, the project has also supported community disaster risk reduction trainings and the development of community disaster plans.
During the training, we advised them to come up with a few plans, and one of the plans is the response plan, which prepares them to know what they do, their roles and responsibilities during the time of disasters. So we were doing the response plan yesterday, and the purpose of today's simulation is to try out that plan, try the plan and see if it works for this community, and if they are confident and comfortable with the plan that they had put together yesterday.
These participants have formed committees and response teams to oversee future awareness and preparedness training within the community. It also becomes a legal representative for the village during times of disaster.
And I would really like to see every community in Fiji have either a Community Disaster Management Committee or what we call a CERT, a Community Emergency Response Teams. Just think if another major cyclone comes through here and 30 households are damaged or destroyed, and you've got 30 families going to the government or the DO and asking for assistance. The way this is, one chairman. The chairman does the assessment, the damage assessment, does the reporting verified by the Torongani Koro. So in the whole valley, you're only going to have 6 people talking. 6 people that represent the whole community.
Saat kuna komite kwa mena abitar tati kwa mena dio nangone ya tati kuna dona lenga tumkus ucia me pakana abitana sing sa ucingo nangone ya tati kuna tangilamba bam don me kamera idirna leoni ba na mera tang mapinak mera tati kuna na sebak to gitu na balang na ibe ko sin sentai.
Just the ownership among the communities to do things that can, even small, to help them in terms of sustenance or even their livelihoods. It is something really important, and that is why the project that the SPC has got, funded by USAID, is very important to us.
For other Pacific communities, this type of training will be a bonus to what they are currently doing and what they currently know, because it encourages the formation of the committee, and also it gives them an opportunity to assess their own vulnerabilities. Things that they do not realize, it also contributes to their vulnerability, and then it increases the losses that they suffer in any natural disaster or even man-made as well.
The work that we're doing in the countries, how does it become sustainable when the project ends or when we leave? One of the ways that we're trying to address that is the fact, is through coordinating our efforts with other partners and taking sort of an integrated programmatic approach.
Like many climate change adaptation programs in the region, this project is building resilient communities which can adapt, prepare, respond, and recover to climate change and disasters. These successful approaches being implemented in Sabeto and at other project sites will be replicated in other Pacific Island countries and territories, and will be valuable to inform future climate change adaptation programs.